So Eddie Hearn mentioned that Wilder's not a pay-per-view star. He's not a big draw. He's not a big name there in America. And Eddie Hearn's probably right. Listen, Wilder isn't a big name. He isn't a big draw. But believe you me, after that Fury fight, his name's definitely got bigger. He's definitely got more attention. Yes, when you compare anything to AJ, it's always going to look not good because AJ's on another level to these guys. But you got to understand that Wilder's market value is going up now. His market value is going up because his name's got bigger. And even if the fight did about 320,000 pay-per-view buys, that's still good. Eddie Hearn said if the fight does about 500,000, he'd offer Wilder 60-40, right? Just say the rematch happens, which it looks like it might do. The rematch happens with Fury Wilder after that epic fight. Just say if it does about 700,000, which is a good possibility after the first fight and how dramatic it was. I do think it's going to do a lot more buys the second time round. All of a sudden, the game changes. Who knows? It might do 1 million pay-per-view buys after the first fight. You know, people might just catch an interest in it and think, whoa, that first fight was great. It was a great, because in my opinion, it was a great fight. I know Eddie Hearn said it wasn't a classic. For me, it was a classic. It's a fight that I'm going to remember for a very long time. And a fight that you remember for a long time, for me, is a classic. You know, I remember Khan Madana because that was a classic. I remember every bit of that fight because it was a classic fight. Don't get me wrong, there was more action in the Khan Madana fight than the Fury Wilder fight. But still, the moments that there was in the Fury and Wilder fight were so dramatic that they're moments that you're never going to forget, even in 20, 30 years' time. How did Tyson Fury get up from that 12th round? You know, things like that. Things like that are going to stay with you for a very long time. So the fight had definitely classic moments. Yeah, maybe Eddie Hearn doesn't think it was the most classical fight where they were going toe-to-toe like Chisora White. But Chisora White was a toe-to-toe slugfest, but it didn't have any classic moments in the fight. There's no moments in the fight where you can remember, oh my God, there was that moment. For example, Joshua Klitschko had classic moments in the fight, and that's, to me, what makes a fight great. When there's moments in that fight, you can remember, oh, can you remember when Joshua got up the floor? Or can you remember how did Fury get up in that 12th round? He looked like he was knocked out cold. These are things where in the Chisora White fight, right, it was a great fight, one of the best fights I've seen, toe-to-toe action, but there was no moments. It was just two guys going in there, slobbing, throwing punches at one another, toe-to-toe, but there wasn't any moments that you can remember. You know, no one got knocked down. There wasn't any, you know, someone didn't have to bite. They did have to bite on their gum shield, of course, because they were taking licks. But what I mean is there weren't no moments in the fight where one of them touched the canvas. Do you see what I mean? Whereas the Fury Wilder, the Joshua Klitschko, these had moments. Even the Wilder-Ortiz fight, in my opinion, was a classic. Because you saw Ortiz go down, then Wilder gets stunned. People saying, I don't know how Wilder didn't get knocked out in that 7th round. You know, and then eventually Wilder taking Ortiz out in the 10th round. It was a classic fight. I do think Wilder, if he has another fight with Fury, I do think Wilder's going to become, especially if he wins. Let's not forget either guy, because Fury and Wilder now have got a lot of pulling power after that fight. If they have a rematch, they know their rematch is going to do a lot more in America. Their rematch is going to be a lot bigger. And if they had trouble selling tickets for this fight, they're not going to have trouble selling tickets for that fight. That's for sure, right? Because the fight's just going to be 2, 3, 4 times bigger. Their purse is going to be huge. Joshua's saying right now, we're looking to offer Wilder double what he's earned before. But if he takes the Fury fight, he's probably going to earn probably at least double, if not triple, what he earned in the fight with Fury first time. So the reason why Joshua and Hearn probably want Wilder to take the fight with Joshua next is because they know if the Wilder-Fury fight happens again, Wilder's pulling power is going to, especially if he wins, you know, he's got to win because, in my opinion, I don't think Wilder wins the rematch. I think Fury wins. But just say if Wilder pulls it off, right, Wilder's pulling power is going to go a lot higher because the pay-per-view numbers on that's going to go, there's going to do a lot more pay-per-view numbers. He's going to become a much bigger draw. He's going to earn a lot more money in that rematch. All of a sudden, the game changes. The split changes. Right now, they can offer Deontay Wilder a split because the first fight, although Wilder did probably a career-high payday, he did well for what people expected, it's still no match for AJ. But Eddie Hearn's publicly said that if the fight between Wilder and Fury does over 1 million pay-per-view buys, they're willing to do 50-50 with Joshua and Wilder. So who knows? The rematch could do 1 million, or it could do close to 1 million. Then all of a sudden the game changes. Wilder could earn what, 25, 30 million for a rematch, 35 million for a rematch, and all of a sudden Joshua and Hearn's plans go, you know, tits up. So this is what I'm trying to say, that I understand why Eddie Hearn and Joshua want him to take the fight now, because they know that if Wilder takes the rematch with Fury, Wilder's pulling power could go through the roof, especially if that rematch does big numbers, which I think it will, because that first fight was like I said, it was a classic in my opinion. So I can understand why Hearn's trying to put Wilder down, but you got to understand the game, in my opinion, is changing now. The game is changing because Wilder is becoming a bigger draw by the fight, and if he has a rematch with Fury, that fight's going to be huge. It's going to be massive, and you can only see that fight doing big things. And if it does, then, you know, Joshua, he's not going to have a leg to stand on, you know, in terms of what he's going to have to offer Wilder. He's going to have to offer Wilder probably an equal split, especially if it does big things, because you got to understand that in America, their pay-per-view prices are a lot higher than what we have here in the UK. So if Wilder does 1 million homes, that's a lot of dough. That's what? That's $80 million potentially. $80 million, where in the UK, if Joshua's doing 20 quid, right, he does 1 million, that's 20 million. So there's a massive gap there. There's a massive difference if Wilder hits the numbers with Fury. So let's see what happens, guys. I do agree with Eddie Hearn right now. Wilder's not a pay-per-view star, and especially in comparison to Joshua, he's not a draw. But leave your thoughts, guys. And guys, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video.